The four ancient civilizations, histories, and cultures have emerged as a brilliant diamond in the current of world culture. Egypt's culture, which dates back thousands of years, is intriguing and exotic. China has a lengthy history. Maybe things are just meant to work out this way. Because of a major project, Egypt's capital, the two nations forged a close alliance in the 21st century. The nation's political heart has traditionally been in Cairo on the Nile. It is one of the most populous cities in the world and one of the fastest growing in Africa, but the situation is getting crowded. As a result, the government enlists China's assistance in planning for a new capital city. What benefit might this have for them? Is this new metropolis really intended for the people? Egypt's government announced plans to develop a new capital city in the Sahara Desert between Cairo and the Red Sea port of Suez in 2015. The current capital, Cairo, is notorious for its oppressive pollution levels and traffic jams due to the city's rapid population growth over the past few decades. The demand has been too great for new infrastructure projects to handle. The new capital will relieve strain on Cairo's outdated infrastructure, claim official explanations. By moving government agencies and staff to the new capital, the Egyptian government hopes to ease traffic and improve living conditions in Cairo. When the new capital is finished, it will be home to 6.5 million people, making it almost as big as Rio de Janeiro. Some of the assets being created in the city include a brand new international airport, a theme park that is larger than Disneyland, Paris, and a presidential mansion that is 8 times larger than the White House. Actually, Egypt wasn't the first country to move its capital. Throughout history, numerous planned capitals have been built in various parts of the world with varying degrees of success. One example of a city that is completely operational is Washington, D.C., as opposed to Naypyidaw, the capital of Myanmar, which is all but deserted but for government workers. A new capital city has the potential to either be an example of carefully planned urban development or nothing more than hollow monuments to the vanity of the dictator. The success of this new initiative will depend on how well liked it is by regular Egyptians. The government's lust for power and Egypt's endemic corruption frequently have an impact on the country's political decision. This raises questions about whether the formation of the new capital will assist the nation's average citizen, or if the claimed goals are only a front for a plan to enrich the wealthy. So why did it become essential to have a fresh capital? The development of the new capital, according to the Egyptian government's official position, is meant to relieve Cairo's traffic problems by moving the city's population and economic hubs there. However, a comparable incident in Pakistan suggests that this may not be the case at all. Pakistan opted to create the new capital of Islamabad in the 1960s in part due to the congestion in the country's previous capital, Karachi. Due to its modern architecture, Islamabad is the most coveted city in Pakistan to live. Karachi is currently much more crowded than it was in the 1960s, nevertheless, as a result of infrastructural spending being diverted to Islamabad and the fact that most citizens have stayed in the old capital. The majority of Pakistanis have not benefited from the modern infrastructure of the new capital cities because Karachi is 14 times larger than Islamabad. But what it has done is made it possible for the nation's political elite to reside in a metropolis that is both hygienic and useful. Something similar could occur in Egypt because the majority of people are likely to stay in Cairo regardless of the establishment of the new capital city. Congestion is unlikely to improve due to the massive amount of resources being used for this new capital, and fewer resources will be available to upgrade Cairo's infrastructure, hastening its decline in the future. It is unclear why a new capital is necessary when taking historical information into account. However, it is more likely that the city will be developed to protect the Egyptian government from a widespread insurrection. 2011 saw a swift takeover of the city by the Egyptian Revolution, which ultimately resulted in the overthrow of the agency government. Future uprisings would be less likely to catch the regime off guard. If the nation's capital were moved to a desert location, after entering president in 2015, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi started the project, and the transfer of power from Cairo was scheduled to happen last year. Some of the hidden motives behind the new capital project may be revealed by the government's apparent haste to leave Cairo. Despite the fact that financial difficulties have hampered the transition to the new capital, you should be aware of the budget for the new capital project. The new capital has a significant economic cost. Merely due to the size of the project, even before accounting for the political cost. The anticipated cost of relocating government buildings from Cairo is $45 billion. In comparison to Egypt's $245 billion GDP, that is a big amount. However, a large percentage of the investment is coming from international investors, mainly the Chinese government. And this has fueled worries about the national debt of Egypt in the long run. Why then is China constructing this enormous new city in Egypt? There are several potential causes. First, China counts Egypt as a vital ally in the Middle East. China is using the construction of the new capital to strengthen its connections with Egypt and establish a presence in the area. Second, the project offers Chinese businesses a chance to exhibit their engineering and construction know-how on a big scale. The new capital city will undoubtedly be praised as a modern marvel and will be a significant point in China's favor. The financial aspect is the last. China has made significant investments in African infrastructure initiatives, such as a new railway that connects Kenya and Uganda. China's goal to create a Silk Road economic belt connecting Asia, Africa, and Europe includes the new city in Egypt. The One Belt, One Vote program of Chinese President Xi Jinping, which aims to increase commerce and investment between China and the rest of the globe, heavily relies on the Silk Road economic belt. Even if there is substantial evidence to doubt the benefits to Egypt, Africa is viewed as a crucial market for Chinese goods and services due to its large population and growing economy. High levels of corruption and scant political accountability appear to be contributing significantly to the new capital project's continuation. Egypt is regarded as one of the most corrupt countries in the world, according to the Corruption Perceptions Index. Rules against corruption are inconsistently upheld, favoring companies with connections to the government over the most effective ones. Since it increases prices for the general people and delays the country's development, this is a huge economic drag. Programs that may normally improve people's quality of life lose money as a result of the government's efforts to eliminate political rivals and consolidate control. More than 3 times as much as the government spends year on health and education combined, the $45 billion spent on moving government buildings to the new capital, focusing on pointless projects like the new presidential palace reveals the elite's callous attitude toward the nation's working class. What does this mean for the Egyptian people and their brand new capital? Then the administration's promises of future advantages for Egypt's general populace do not appear to be fulfilled by the new capital. The majority of Cairo's 20 million inhabitants would continue to live there, where they would continue to deal with the same persistent problems that have dogged the metropolis for years. Misplaced government monies put additional pressure on a struggling economy. The deteriorating infrastructure and subpar living conditions in Cairo and the rest of the country might be fixed with the help of this money. The official narratives, however, support President Sisi's attempts to conceal his victims, enrich the wealthy, and further consolidate authority rather than creating a new capital. Years of unhappiness with the Hosni government, which had been mismanaged, were a major factor in the 2011 Arab Spring. If the Egyptian elite does not understand that using the power of the state to advance and protect the interests of the people is the only way to create enduring peace, the nation will thereafter commit the same errors as in the past. The ruling class in Egypt appears to be motivated by self-interest when building the new capital, and the country's working class is providing the funding. Obviously, the initiative won't help Egypt's economy grow. Instead, it will act as a massive monument to the greed and callousness of autocrats who don't care much about their subjects' welfare.